2, the grammar competence is innate. We were all born with a language potential waiting to be triggered. And I believe this is my favorite takeaway. The language is there. The ability to speak it is there. The ability to speak it correctly is there. And it just has to be triggered. So, what's going to trigger it? What triggers our ability to understand grammar and then begin to put things in their proper place? Other people talking around us will trigger it. Our parents talking to us, our parents or guardians or aunties or uncles or teachers reading to us, books being read to us hearing grammar spoken correctly, us interacting with the language that is already inside of us in that context is what's going to trigger this potential that's already in us. It's like, you know how this potential energy is just sitting there waiting. We have potential grammar use. We have potential language. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting to me. We have potential language on the inside of us waiting to be triggered. That's exciting. It excites me. It may not excite you. It excites me to just know that when I have kids, the language is there. You know, when I even teach kids, the ability for them to understand English grammar and sentence structure, even if they're older, it's still there. Maybe no, that particular kid I was talking about, maybe no one triggered his ability to be able to grammatically separate, you know, ain't versus you are. Why? Because that's all he heard. Like, I don't get mad with my students when they say you ain't. I don't even get mad at this generation when they're using text message language in a formal essay. One, because they probably have not been taught that that's not appropriate, and you have to go back and trigger what's right in them. So I think that's exciting that grammar is innate. The competence of it is already in us, and that should take the weight off of all of us to learn it, to want to learn it, because it's already in us to do it. It's already in us to know where the commas go. It's already in us to know how to write compound complex sentences. It's already in us to have an understanding of the what they used to do, diagram sentences. What's the subject? What's a verb? A lot of this stuff is just not. It's just not triggered in us. We haven't met somebody or come across a book that caught our attention, or just had somebody just pour out into us so much so that we just get it. But the potential is there for us to just get it, for the light to come on. And I do. I hope you guys eventually, you know, if you feel like your grammar sucks and that it's not the best, that you meet somebody who will trigger in you a passion to get an understanding, because that's takeaway number 3. And there's my fact about kindergarten, but I'm gonna come back to it. So takeaway number 3, we learn grammar so we can be conscious users of the grammar we use subconsciously every day. Guys, we know how to form a sentence. Whether your teachers taught you I am a person or I am a girl, if they ever never taught you that, you were already saying it before you got to school. Why? Surprising fact, according to this book, your grammar system was in place the very first day you went to kindergarten. How about that? You're 5 years old, 6 if your birthday's late, especially down here in the South, and your grammar system was already in place. Wow. Why? Because you could say, I am Adrian. What's your name? Adrian. I am a girl. We could probably, most of us, speak those simple sentences before we went to kindergarten. Now you get maybe into first grade, you learn the difference between a subject and a verb. You get on up in high school, and then you learn the difference, or middle school. Yeah, that's taught in middle school, probably 5th, 6th grade, about conjunctions, conjunction, junction, what's your function, and fanboys, and you begin to learn the different parts of a sentence. But we've already put the sentences together and understood the basic components of grammar, which is subject and verb, before we went to kindergarten. By the time we start kindergarten, our grammar system is already in place. I think that's good news. Why? Because it should. Kindergarten teachers, they really should. I think they should have an easier task, especially if they're getting students who have been read to, talked to, spoken, you know, this again, the standard English too. It does make the job easier. We come into issues with students who are having a hard time with grammar and sentence structure and those kinds of things, which very well is probably the problem with illiteracy. People have not been exposed to the words. They haven't been exposed to I equals A, because in the series I did, It Is Written, we know that letters are actually symbols to sounds. It's not the other way around. So I equals A. It's not A. And though it goes both ways, the letters in our language are actually symbols to sounds. So those sounds are already in us as well. So the grammar and how those words are to be formed, and the fact that I equals A and all of this good stuff, guys, this stuff is already in us. We are like super smart creatures already before any man ever teaches us. The problem becomes where we aren't exposed to those things. We aren't exposed to the letter A growing up. We aren't exposed to CAT equals cat. So we'll call it, or we'll see cat and we'll say another C word, we'll say car. Just because it's a familiar word, we've seen that somebody has said that word around us. And you know, you get into the students not being able to read, or adults even not being able to read, so on and so forth, just because of a lack of exposure. So if you want to amp up your ability to use grammar correctly, your ability to write, even your ability to be a little bit more literate, remember, literacy does involve both the ability to read and to write. You just got to expose yourself to it. It's like anything else probably in the earth. You want to be a better teacher, be around more teachers. Guys, I've learned so much about the teaching profession on my new job, honestly, than I've ever learned in 11 years. Why? Because I get to see teachers teach. I get to go and sit and listen to other people present information to me, which is all sometimes a teacher does. We are vessels that present information. We present facts. We present how things are supposed to be read. We present how sentences are supposed to be structured to our students. And then we should be making them apply the information, making sure they're getting an understanding, so forth and so on. And guys, I've been exposed to so many presenters. I realize that presenters are teachers. Why? Because they're giving you some knowledge about something, and that has sharpened me as an educator. So if you want to be a better teacher, go listen to other teachers. It's not enough for you to be in your classroom teaching your little heart out, because I'm sure you're doing a great job. I know I'm a good teacher, but I see how I could be sharpened just by listening to somebody else teach something. And it didn't even have to be a deep subject. I sat in on an orientation and was impressed. I'm like, man, she is. I mean, I had to go tell that lady she did a great job, because it was just that good. Her presentation was good. And the things I walked away with, the understanding of, she knew her information. She, of course, didn't read off the slide, which we tell the kids don't do. That it was in her, the information that she was presenting to the group. It was already in her. She done her homework. She knew the material left and right, inside out. And that brings a level of authority to what you're saying anyway, just like all by itself. The fact that you put in the hard work to do the research, to put the PowerPoint or whatever you're using to present, that brings a weight and a power to what you're doing all by itself. So for me to see someone else teaching something else, guys, I've been like super, like, I feel like I've been getting downloads of how to be a better teacher. Because I've been exposed to more teachers. I work at a university now, and so the environment is a whole lot more flexible and a lot more, I think, conducive for us to go and see other teachers teach. I mean, they're having a educational summit, so that's, you'll get a chance to see other teachers doing what they do. I recognize that in the education field, the way it's set up now, we don't always get to see each other teach. When I was in the classroom last year, I would go in my room and teach my English, teach my reading. If it was a day to teach writing, I would teach my writing, but I never got a chance to see anyone else do it. So I never got sharpened in how I could do a better job in presenting the information to my students, because I was always dependent on me and the skill set that I brought to the table to do my job. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You do your homework, you do your research, you can do an awesome job in the classroom. But if you want to be sharpened, go actually watch and see someone else do what you do for a living. Guys, it's almost like you have to stay an apprentice on your job. We can't get into any job and just assume because we're there we can't learn anything else from anybody else. Not true. We can still learn so much from people in our profession just by listening to them, just by asking them questions, by seeing them interact and do what they do. Is the teaching opportunities are there, and the chance to mature and grow in your what you're doing is there. And I'm saying all of that behind the fact that the more grammar we expose ourselves to, the better at it we will be. The more we read, the more competent this competence that's already in us, the more it's going to be triggered. So it should be at some point in us like this bubbling forth of understanding of how the words are put together, which is why I love writing so much. I love to see words get put together structurally correctly, and you get that aha moment when you're reading it. I mean, you've ever read a poem and you read it and you're just in awe of what it says, because the words are all just right, and you see it and you feel it and you can sense what the author is trying to convey to the reader, and that's powerful to me. So